The Boston Bruins are about to find out if they can withstand another Hampus Lindholm injury because the defenseman is out and it is not a day-to-day thing.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. Today is Tuesday, January 6th, and we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Ian McLaren. I am a lifelong Boston Bruins fan, and I've been covering this team and the NHL for various major outlets for nearly 20 years. On today's podcast, we are going to discuss the injury to Hampus Lindholm that will keep him out for some time, according to head coach Marco Sturm, and what adjustments they will make on the blue line heading into tonight's game against the Seattle Kraken. We'll also update the Eastern Conference power rankings and preview tonight's game against Seattle, the last of a road trip before the Bruins come home for a few games at TD Garden. All right, so the Boston Bruins are in action tonight, taking on the Seattle Kraken, and they'll be without Hampus Lindholm, who, according to head coach Marco Sturm, is injured once again, and it is not a day-to-day thing. He said it's hopefully not too long, but he's definitely going to be out for a little bit. They're going to do some more testing when they're back in Boston, and they will go from there. He didn't skate with the team in Seattle, and it's unfortunate because he had been rolling pretty well as of late with 3 points, 1 goal, 2 assists in his last 2 games. 14 points through 34 games this season, and it's pretty troubling considering Lindholm missed the majority of last season with an injury suffered when he blocked a shot and broke his kneecap. And then he also missed some time earlier this season with an injury. The specifics of this current one are not known. We don't know what caused it, whether it's related to whatever kept him out of the lineup earlier this season. He missed 7 games back in October, November, and then another few with an upper body injury, 4 with an undisclosed injury. So he's been pretty banged up over the last couple of years. And that was one of the reasons why he was not selected to represent Team Sweden at the Olympics coming up in February, because he just hasn't had the steady gameplay. While he's been on the ice, he has been very good, contrary to what a lot of Bruins fans think. A lot of criticism heaped upon Lindholm so far this season, but he's got pretty good underlying numbers. He's been chipping in offensively, and he is, one of the 3 most important defensemen for the Boston Bruins. So if he's going to miss a significant amount of time, that will be obviously problematic for the Boston Bruins as they try to stay afloat in the Eastern Conference playoff race. And coming up, we'll take a look at where they stand in the playoff picture. Now, with Lindholm coming out, the good news is they do have some reinforcements coming back, good being relative to who is coming back. Henry Jokiharju, Sturm said, looks pretty good and is pretty close. They're going to decide today whether or not both he and Tanner Jeannot up front are able to go. Sturm said both are very important pieces to the team, especially with Hampus out. So that will be a nice addition, he said. In practice, it was Henry Jokiharju skating on the second pair with Nikita Zadorov. That was a pairing that worked pretty well last season in limited time, and one of the reasons why Jokiharju was re-signed by the Boston Bruins was because of his chemistry with Nikita Zadorov. On the first pair, they had Jonathan Aspero skating with Charlie McAvoy, leaving the third pair to be Mason Lohrei and Andrew Peeke, which could be a bit of an adventure, seeing as Peeke hasn't played very well and Lohrei is doing better than last season, but in pretty sheltered minutes. So the Bruins taking on the Seattle Kraken tonight with some changes to the lineup. They've had a couple days off between games lately, which David Pastrnak said has been a good opportunity to get out there, have some long practices. You don't get that many times during the season. They've been on the road, so it's an opportunity to go to the rink on those off days. And he thinks they've turned the page a little bit the last couple of games. They've got 5 points out of their last 3 games. He believes they're playing some pretty good hockey. Still ways to improve, of course. But all they're worrying about is finishing on the right note in Seattle, grabbing the points, and going home. The Bruins, 2-game win streak, beating the Edmonton Oilers and the Vancouver Canucks. They got a point last week in an overtime loss to the Calgary Flames. And Jokiharju will be paired with Zadorov, Aspero with McAvoy, Peeke with Lohrei. Jokiharju, who was named to the Finnish Olympic team, said he's feeling good. He's excited if he gets to get in tonight, which it looks like he will. He said it's been pretty challenging just watching the games from above. Sucks that you can't do anything to help the team. A mental grind. Let's put it that way, he said. He also added when he comes back in, it's going to be that next man up mentality, which kind of is a hallmark of the Boston Bruins. He just wants to come in, play simple, hard, follow the system, get everybody on the same page. That is the key. Try not to take that many penalties. That's a team-wide mandate right now. And keep the foot on the gas and end this road trip on a high note. The Bruins have a pretty good opportunity. Seattle is coming off a game last night, so they'll be a bit less rested. But again, the bigger story is Hampus Lindholm getting injured and the impact this will have on the Bruins beyond tonight. They have a pretty nice schedule in January. A lot of points on the table, a lot of opportunities to get back into the playoff picture, into playoff contention. But with Lindholm out, that's obviously going to be a bit of a challenge because he is one of the most important blue liners for this team. He had an appointment on Sunday. They're going to get back to Boston and get some more testing, and then they'll let doctors decide the next steps. That's what Marco Sturm said. So whether that means surgery and he's shut down for the year, who knows? But it's not very encouraging when it comes to Lindholm. And replacing him will be a huge challenge. He is so good at moving the puck. He plays on the penalty kill. But Henry Jokiharju coming back hopefully will ease the sting of losing Lindholm for any length of time. Frederic Brunet playing very well for the Providence Bruins. Victor Soderstrom has had some reps at the NHL level, so they do have some options. Quite frankly, I wouldn't mind seeing Andrew Peeke being traded at some point. We'll talk about that as the trade deadline nears. But for right now, Lindholm's out, Jokiharju's in, Seattle's on deck, and coming up, we're going to update the Eastern Conference power rankings. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming. Between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month can feel like a real challenge, and it can feel like you're losing control. Who has time to track down every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I was shocked when Rocket Money showed me I was paying for a subscription I hadn't even thought about for years. It's already saving me big time money. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster in 2026. Join rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Again, I love how it tracks all my subscriptions, lets me cancel them right in the app with just a few taps. It's available at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thank you so much again for making Locked On Boston Bruins your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already done so, please also go check out our new Everydayer Club. You get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Boston Bruins, which is compatible with Apple, Spotify, most other major podcast apps. You'll also get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of Locked On Boston Bruins. I've been pretty active in the fantasy chat over there as well. You should go to lockedonbruins.supercast.com to learn more, or tap the link in the show notes. All right, it's Tuesday, and that's when we update the power rankings. It's not really worth looking at just the Atlantic Division anymore because we know that the wild card is a significant part of this. Only 3 teams from each division make the playoffs, plus 2 wild card spots. And right now, there's a pretty big gap between the top 3 and the bottom 5 in the Atlantic. You have Detroit, 54 points, Tampa Bay, 53 points, Montreal at 52 points, followed by the Panthers at 47, the Sabres Bruins at 46, and the Maple Leafs and Senators at 45, both in last place. Point-wise, if you look at point percentage, the Bruins are actually 8th in the Atlantic with a point percentage of 54.8, whereas the Leafs, Senators are at 54.9. And just to put that in context, so the Bruins have played 42 games. That means 84 points have been on the table. They've achieved 46 of those. So that's 54.8% of possible points earned so far this season. Now, what's odd is that the Bruins don't have the lowest goal differential in the Atlantic. That goes to the Detroit Red Wings, who are at -5, despite having the most points in the division. Let's kick it over to the conference-wide picture, though, and we'll go to point percentage because for me, that's a bigger indicator of where teams are, because you could have a bunch of points, but if you've played more games, then it's kind of skewed that way, right? Right now, let's start from the bottom and work our way up. In last place, you have the New York Rangers with a .523 point percentage and a -4 goal differential. Slightly ahead of them, the Columbus Blue Jackets, a .524 point percentage with a -10 goal differential. The Bruins are tied with the New Jersey Devils at I say .524, .523. The Bruins, 54.8, tied with the New Jersey Devils, ahead of Columbus, 52.4, 52.3 for the Rangers. So the Bruins are level with the New Jersey Devils, tied for the 3rd worst point percentage in the Eastern Conference. But keep in mind, the lowest team is the Rangers at .523, like above 500. 46 points in 44 games. There's no teams that are really super out of it or just like really bad right now. You look over at that Western Conference, there's 5 teams below 500 and 1 right at 500. So it shows you how the landscape is skewed. And those 5 teams under 500 in the West. Their goal differentials, by far some of the worst in the NHL. The worst goal differential in the East is -10, and that belongs to the Devils and the Blue Jackets. Slightly ahead of the Bruins, who are at 54.8. The Ottawa Senators, 54.9, tied with the Toronto Maple Leafs at 54.9. Both teams have 45 points through 41 games. Ottawa gets a bit of an edge thanks to their +2 goal differential compared to Toronto's -1. So that brings us to the top 10 teams in the Eastern Conference. You have the Florida Panthers with a 57.3 point percentage. They're at -1 right now. They've won 1 game in a row, 6-3-1 over their past 10. They are just behind the Buffalo Sabres, who are at 57.5 point percentage, 9-1 over their past 10 games. And even that hasn't been good enough to crack the top 8 in the conference when it comes to point percentage. Think about that for a moment. 9-1 over their past 10 games. It shows you how bad they were to start, but also how hard it is to really make up ground. And some of these teams in the top 8, they're all coming off wins, at least one win. And a couple teams are on pretty good winning streaks right now. In 8th, the Washington Capitals, point percentage of 58.1, +17 goal differential, which is second in the East. Ahead of them, the New York Islanders at 59.5. They have a 0 goal differential. The Penguins at 59.8 with a +4 goal differential. They've won 5 games in a row. Ahead of them, the Philadelphia Flyers, pretty surprising team, a 61.3% point percentage, +8 goal differential. And then the top 4 right now, the Detroit Red Wings at 61.4. They are technically ahead of the Montreal Canadiens in points, but the Canadiens have 2 games in hand. And the Canadiens are a really interesting team because they've had a ton of injuries so far this season. They're without Patrick Laine, Kirby Dach. If they get these guys back, they could be a real force to be reckoned with. And then your top 2 teams, Carolina Hurricanes was a 63.1 point percentage, and the Tampa Bay Lightning, who have won 7 games in a row, they are now the top team in the East by way of point percentage at 64.6. And they also have the best goal differential by far, +32 compared to Washington's +17. So you can see that things are fairly level. Like Columbus's bottom team at 43 points. The Red Wings, technically the top team right now at 54 points. So that's only 11 points separating top to bottom in the East. Whereas in the West, you have the Colorado Avalanche at 69 points and the Winnipeg Jets, surprisingly, in last place with only 34 points. So that is a 35-point differential compared to only 11 from top to bottom in the Eastern Conference. Now, where do our Bruins sit in all this? Well, it's important to keep looking at the underlying stats to see what the Bruins play, specifically at 5-on-5, tells us about how they're playing. The penalty kill hasn't been great lately. The power play is, as we'll see coming up, one of the better ones in the league. But 5-on-5, the Bruins are not one of the better teams in terms of puck possession. And we get that indication from how many shot attempts they're making, how many shots, high danger chances, and expected goals. If you're taking more shot attempts than the opposition, usually means you have the puck more, you're getting into the offensive zone, getting the puck towards the net. The Bruins right now are 25th in terms of shot attempt differential at 5-on-5, where the majority of the game is played. When it comes to actual shot differential, a bit better. They rank 22nd. When it comes to scoring chances, the Bruins are 25th in terms of that differential. And when you look at high danger chances, which, come in that home plate area around the net, the Bruins are actually 29th. You add that all up and you look at expected goals, and the Bruins rank 30th in expected goal differential. And that's looking at shot attempts, shots, shot quality, high danger opportunities, and kind of what is expected. Now, this isn't reality, of course. The Bruins, when it comes to actual goal differential, 5-on-5, they're 21st, which means they're burying some of their opportunities that maybe they shouldn't have, and their goaltenders are stopping some high danger looks. And the more they play Jeremy Swayman, the better off they will be, as we'll see coming up here in the game preview. So all this suggests, the Bruins are kind of right in the thick of things in the Eastern Conference, but really their underlying numbers suggest they are a bottom third team in the NHL, kind of at best. And in order to create some separation or to really show that they're a playoff team, they'll have to succeed here in January heading into the Olympic break. Their next opportunity will come tonight against the Seattle Kraken. It's a game we'll preview here as the podcast continues. The Boston Bruins finish up their current road trip tonight in Seattle, taking on the Kraken, a team that is on a 3-game winning streak and have won 7 of their past 10. They're 7-2-1, coming off wins over Nashville, Vancouver, Calgary. Not, super impressive. Their other wins in this streak, Philly, they're pretty good. The Kings, Ducks, Sharks. I mean, they're not really beating the best of the best in the NHL as of late. And this remains a winnable game for the Boston Bruins. Jay Leach on staff in Seattle, he led the stretch. So there's perhaps some extra motivation for this one to win one for Jay Leach. But it's a winnable game for the Boston Bruins. David Pastrnak playing well over his past 5 games. 7 points, 3 goals, 4 assists. The Kraken led by Jordan Eberle, who's got 4 points in 5 games. Matty Beniers, who always seems to play well against the Bruins, leads the way with 3 goals. Kabokako with 4 assists over their past 5 games. It's the first of 2 meetings between these two teams. They'll play again on January 15th in Boston. And like it will be Jeremy Swayman again tonight, I believe. He has played the last few games for the Bruins because of their spread out schedule. They've had a couple games or a couple days between games here on this road trip, which we talked about earlier with Pastrnak saying they've been able to get some good practices in. So Swayman should be good to go tonight. 16-10-2 with a .906 save percentage. The way that Michael DiPietro is playing in Providence right now, I don't know why the Bruins are sticking with Joonas Korpisalo as the backup and not recalling DiPietro, because quite honestly, whenever they put Korpisalo in net, they're not giving themselves the best chance to win. On the flip side, Joey Decord, .903 save percentage so far this season for the Kraken. Philip Grubauer having a bounce-back season. He's 8-3-1 with a .926 save percentage. So that could be a difference in tonight's game. When it comes to the tail of the tape, the Bruins, like I mentioned, strong power play. They rank 4th in the NHL. The Kraken, pretty good on their own at 12th with a 20.9% success rate. Their penalty kill, though, is 32nd in the NHL. So if the Bruins get some power play opportunities tonight, look for them to take advantage, because 4th best power play versus 32nd ranked penalty kill. The Bruins can take the advantage in the face-off circle as well. They have the 5th best face-off win percentage, the Kraken 29th. So again, win the face-offs, get possession, take it to the offensive zone, get some opportunities. The Bruins offense is ranked 12th, 3.12 goals per game, compared to Seattle 27th. Their offense is struggling, 2.68. Seattle's team defense, though, is pretty stellar. They're allowing only 2.8 goals per game compared to Boston, 3.21. The Bruins, hard to take them seriously until you get your goals for above your goals allowed. Hockey's a simple game. If you allow more goals than you score, you're not going to succeed as much as you would like to. Jordan Eberle leads this team in scoring with 27 points in 40 games, followed by Chandler Stevenson, 26 points, Eli Tolvanen, Matty Beniers, Jaden Schwartz, Shane Wright scored last night. He's been a bit of a disappointment this season with only 15 points in 40 games. Kako, second overall pick. He has been injured a lot, 11 points in 24 games for them. On the blue line, Vince Dunn with 21 points, followed by Brandon Montour with 16 points. The Bruins, of course, led in scoring by David Pastrnak, 46 points in 37 games. Morgan Geekie with 41 through 42 so far this season. And on the blue line, McAvoy leading the way with 21 points through 30 games. This is a game the Bruins can certainly win. And if you look at the underlying numbers, I mean, the Seattle Kraken are a pretty good defensive team, to be sure. But when it comes to expected goal differential, they're one of two teams worse than the Bruins in that respect. In fact, they are 32nd in the NHL in terms of expected goal differential at 5-on-5. So the Bruins can win the 5-on-5 battle. And if you look at Seattle's terrible penalty kill, the Bruins should be able to win the 5-on-5 battle, should be able to get some success on the power play if they get some of those opportunities. High danger chance differential, Kraken dead last in that. So they don't really generate a lot of high danger opportunities. They don't really generate many scoring chances. They rank dead last in that regard as well. When it comes to shot differential, they're 31st, and shot attempt differential, they are 29th. So I talked about how the Bruins' underlying numbers aren't very strong. Seattle's one of those teams that's even worse than the Bruins. Yeah, the Bruins are on the road, and Seattle is kind of rolling a little bit here, but put it all together, and the Bruins, this is a winnable one and an important one for them as they come home, trying to build some momentum here. And even without Hampus Lindholm, this is a game that they should win. And on tomorrow's podcast, we'll be back to recap whatever happens tonight in Seattle, bring you all the latest on the black and gold, maybe answer some mailbag questions. If you have any questions, feel free to send them in on YouTube or on socials at Locked NHL Bruins. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Bruins on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube so you get all the latest episodes. And if you are already tuning in every day or quite regularly, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Bruins ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more by heading to lockedonbruins.supercast.com to join the club. If you're watching on YouTube, check out the 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel next. On audio, make sure you check out the NHL Game Night podcast on the Locked On NHL feed. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. Please take care of yourselves, friends. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you again here on the next episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.